We have the privilege to talk to Dr. Richard Morris of Morris Law, who specializes in wills, trusts, probate, guardianships, conservatorships, civil litigation, and business law. Dr. Morris, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Tell us about the distinctives of your firm.
This law firm actually is a combination of a general practice law firm that really emphasizes wills, trusts, probates, business and business litigation. We do other things as well that are related to that, for example, trademarks and so on. But our primary focus is actually to do estate planning and business.
When we called, we received a warm response and a very quick call back, which told me this is no ordinary firm.
What happens with most law firms is that you'll call in and you need to talk to a lawyer or the legal assistant. You'll be lucky if you get a call back in a day or two. We return each phone call, for example, the same day that you call in. If we're available at the time that you call, we will actually talk with you then. But of course, if we're tied up with a different client, we'll have to wait until we're done with that client until we return telephone calls. In fact, what we do is that we try to leave a special time in the afternoon where we do not accept clients for appointments solely because we would like to return the calls.
Wow, good for you.
Probably the greatest proportion of what we do is estate planning, which is wills and trusts, guardianships, and conservatorships. And our goal here is actually to keep people as far away from the courtroom as possible. And I know everyone thinks, well, it's nice to have a judge looking at all of these things, but in real life, any type of court proceeding is not only emotionally traumatic, it's also very expensive. It's one thing to watch something on television where the attorneys are doing such and such in court. It's another thing to realize what you're watching on TV is not real. And secondly, that if it were real, they're probably up into $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 worth of legal work to get to the position that they're showing on TV.
Which probably cancels out the inheritance itself. How can families avoid all of this?
When we're looking at today's estate planning, wills and trusts are always the first thing you think about. And the reason is, wills, of course, have always been traditional. But trust will keep you away not only from the probate court, but also from going through a guardianship and a conservatorship, which is even more expensive and what I call humiliating than is a probate. And I think it's important to look at what the goals are. If you have, for example, only adult children and no grandchildren or underage people that you're concerned with, a will probably is going to work out just fine because you would make the will, everything goes to those people. And then as far as other assets, you would want to make them either transfer on death or pay on death. But if you have some child who has a disability, for example, Down syndrome or autism, something like that, in that case, you would want to have a trust because you can then control the money that is spent on that disabled child's behalf. This is very important. It's becoming more and more important as we have realized more and more than we did, say, 10 or even 5 years ago, how minor things such as children playing football have caused concussions, and later on this causes a permanent brain damage. So we need to take care of people much more than we used to think we did.
So the effect of a trust goes far beyond just money. You can actually provide guidance to your family. How does the process work?
The process is actually quite simple. I'm going to make it simple. What you do is you figure out what you have, roughly speaking. We don't have to know every knife and fork in your drawer. You have an idea what you own and an idea, A, who you would like to give it to at the time of your death. In addition, you need to think of one very important thing. Let's suppose you don't die. Let's suppose instead you have a head injury from a car accident or a slip and fall or something like that. What this means is somebody's going to have to take care of you. And if they have to take care of you, it can either be with a guardianship, court, or it can be through a living trust. You need to have it set up so that the person you pick to take care of you is somebody you trust. So I always suggest this. When you're trying to pick somebody who's going to take care of things, what you do is you pretend that you're already in a coma, except that you're in an awake coma. You can't move, but you can see everything. And as you look around, you can see, you can hear, but you can't say anything. And what this does, if you can pick a person that you would allow to handle your affairs at that time, that's the person who should be your executor, your successor trustee, your agent under your financial durable power of attorney.
And what if a person just doesn't do anything?
If a person does nothing with regard to planning, then the state makes their will or estate plan for them. There are laws, what they're called the law of intestate succession, that will handle what happens to your assets after you die. That's by statute. But the statute doesn't come into play unless you've done nothing. So if you do nothing, then it's the statute that's going to control. Very often, this means that assets of yours will go to people you don't really want to get them. You'd rather have other people receive your assets than the people the statute picks.
I read in Forbes that 65% of Americans don't have a will and 71% don't have living wills. How is that possible?
One of the things you have to think about is it is true you can't take it with you. I had one client many years ago who decided that he didn't want to leave things to anybody, and when he died, then he would make the decision. Well, you can't wait until you die to make the decision, and you don't know when it is that you're going to die. You could get hit by a truck tomorrow. You could slip and fall in your shower today, and believe it or not, that could kill you.
That's so true. I just want to encourage our viewers that if you haven't done this, it's time. Your family needs you to do it, and God forbid, if you were to become incapacitated, you need to be the one to decide your own care.
Well, my office and my staff are here to help. We offer a free initial consultation for anybody dealing with estate planning.
Yet another great incentive. Thank you, Dr. Morris, for sharing your expertise.
Thank you for inviting me.